be here tonight. My name is Nyambura. I'm a friend of Natasha's, met her a few years back. And so it is really, truly a great honor for me to be here and to actually occupy this space of taking this opportunity to introduce the guest of honor tonight. I was actually going to read her bio, but I think that will take away from what I really need to say about who she is and who she represents in the world. Natasha is not only a mother, but she is also a writer and has done some awesome, wonderful work here in the art community. This is actually her third book. And out of this book is a representation of why each and every one of us are in this room tonight. So it is a conversation that I know a lot of us have difficulty having with each other, or especially for me as a mother of two teenage boys, having with my boys freely. And having read this book, what it did for me was it reminded me that in many spaces in my life now, that I can either see myself or having experienced myself at one time in my life, or will maybe see myself at some time in my life. And I can also say each one of you maybe has either been in that space or will be in that space in one time of your life. And so this is a great book for each and every one of us to be able to share, not just ourselves, but with our loved ones. Male, female, whatever gender it is that you are, this is a book that will speak for us and will continue speaking for us. And in the conversation that Natasha freely, graciously, and with such power and dignity shares with her son Nazir, because it is a tender conversation that one needs to have to be able to explore the journey that he is about to partake. So she has done such an incredible job to put that in paper for us to be able to share with each other today and in the days to come. So it is a great memoir, not only just a great gift that she gives back to her son Nazir, but she gives to us in the community. So I am honored and privileged to stand here as a sister, as a mother, as a woman, one who resisted Natasha from the beginning, but could not stay away from her love and her energy. I am honored, truly honored and privileged to share this space and this time with her, and to share her with the world as she comes out today and shares this book with us, Mama Sutra. So if you would take the time with me, let us all welcome Natasha Ria El-Scari to the stage.
Hi everybody, can y'all hear me? You know, you just never know if anybody's going to show up. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate it so much. And can everybody hear me? So, thank you. I prefer a mic. I appreciate it. Give it up for David Brown. I called David with an attitude, like, I can't get the mics on. And he was real dry. He was like, I'm on my way. So, David, I appreciate you. Before I start to read, because I don't want to forget at the end of it, I want to acknowledge all of the people here, if you could stand, that either contributed to the men giving their interview, or they were beta readers, which meant I always call it holding my egg. Those are the readers that took it when I was still super close and shy about it and was not exactly sure if I was ready to share it with the world. So if those people could stand up right now, I see you. Yes, April, that's you. So this is Joe, April, David, my mom, as well. So I want to thank, because they had to endure even more typos than you will have to endure. And I want to apologize for that. And then Ron, if you could stand. Did I get your interview too, Larnell? Who are the men here that interviewed? Yes, Ron right there. Ron interviewed for that, and I thank him for that. I asked over, and so did you, Joe. Didn't you contribute to? You didn't?
Not an interview, no.
Okay. Or no, it was David. Maybe it was David that did. But I asked over 200 men, Nazir and I asked over 200 men, and only 25 would respond. So we didn't delete any interviews. It's literally everyone who was in the book that actually interviewed. And there's a story as to maybe why that is the case. So I'm going to just read a couple of passages, and then we're going to do a quick workshop on sex. It's going to be really quick, but you shouldn't be quick. All right. Page 1. You all can follow along, ignore the typos. Oh, hey, Lee Langston was a beta reader too. There you are. Oh, I didn't hear you. And then Mike, did Mike do an interview? Did he do an interview? It's all escaping me now. Okay, what's up, Mike? All right, page 1, deleting the duality. We're only gonna read 120 pages tonight, everybody. Don't worry about it. Hell no. On a mid-month May Day outside of a coffee shop, Nazir and I took a moment to talk about the book. He had some great suggestions, but one that didn't set well with me. One that I felt had to do with the patriarchy and less with how I think lovemaking should evolve. His suggestion was to tier the conversation, the approach to lovemaking as a single man, one in relationship and one post-relationship. Initially, I was super excited that this was something he was thinking about, and then I started thinking of how many men value women based on their statuses. Why should the sexual treatment of a woman in lovemaking be dependent on the relationship status? After all, isn't that what we're fighting? After sitting with his suggestion for about 3 days, I asked him, did he value women differently based on their varied sexual past or their status in his life? He shared that while he didn't necessarily see women differently, he felt most of his current peer group did, and that while they wanted a woman who was sexually aware and even skillful, young men still thought this did not make her a desirable mate. This struck me so hard that I shared with him that many of my amazing sexual experiences were often clouded because men, in the afterglow of lovemaking, wanted to know who else I had shared experiences like that with. They were obsessed and possessed with the idea that I could have shared myself as freely with another man before them, even though I was grown with 2 kids and a former husband. Somehow, their patriarchal training gave them immediate ownership over all the joy in my body and the hierarchy of experiences that was centered around their placement of power in my life. For that reason, I did not separate the advice based on the perceived status of the woman. Instead, I believe that each and every person should leave all sexual encounters in bliss, safety, and satisfaction, not judgment, shame, guilt, or a reduction of respect. I wish I could report that I have partnered with a progressive man that truly understands this concept, but it isn't true. While dating in my 40s, I have been challenged often with ideas that I am too much, too free, too off the chain, too scary, too ambitious, and the list goes on. Luckily, I am aware enough to change the narrative in my head, and I am able to further prove that patriarchal oppression is of no benefit to anyone, even the men who perpetuate the gross limitations of it. Many men are tied to the idea that their life partner must be both virgin and whore, which is both unrealistic and stifling. Even when I was a virgin, I was told the same things about the way I kissed or hugged or rubbed a boy/man's chest. When sensuality and awareness is removed from the conversation about sexual intimacy, all that is left is that you are a virgin or a whore. Are you clean or are you dirty? And ultimately, are you worthy or unworthy of deep and connected sexual and life experiences? This book is an offering for a new way to look at African American sex and sexuality from the beginning to the end of our lives, and that this is one of the primers to remind us we are all worthy of amazing sex, sensuality, intimacy, and ultimately love. So I want to dispel an early myth that's kind of been created that this is a book only for Black people. So what happens when Black people write books, if a lot of white people don't see themselves in the book, they immediately go, well, this isn't for me. And I was like, well, then nothing would be for us if we looked at all the ways that white people had stuff for them. We wouldn't go to Walgreens or Walmart or outside. We wouldn't do any of those things. So I think it's just important to note that, when we write from an I'm writing from an African-American feminist perspective, and I think that is just like any other piece of literature. I mean, I grew up reading dead white men, and some of the books I really enjoyed. So if you are to pull something from it, pull from the human experience of it, you don't have to find yourself in a book to be immersed and to see the importance of it. And so I just really challenge people to get past this notion that it has to be some kind of mirrored reflection for them. In fact, I think we learn the most when we don't see ourselves in things, because that's when we can really take a step back from our own personal experiences to, really kind of see. All right, so I'm gonna read this section because, number 20, page 20, not number 20. Number 20 on the rules of 573 Rules of Lovemaking by Natasha. Lovemaking is an act of social justice. One of the early poems I taught myself to memorize was Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. It didn't have anything about sex in it. In fact, it was about the specific and shared experience of what it is to be African American in this country across generations. It was Hughes in the voice of a mother, woman, not only warning her son, but also encouraging him. It was also a call to action to never give up and to never quit. I said that wrong. Imagine our brutal entry into this country, all the atrocities that we endured, including forced reproduction, placed upon us as if we were actual chattel. Although I don't have documented accounts I can refer to, I am certain that lovemaking is what saved us. I believe it sustained us and reminded us that we are human, even though all of what was around us said otherwise. In the brief and intimate moments I imagine we chose, our sacred lovemaking served as a catalyst to freedom, and that each time we engage in it as descendants of Africa and of the slave experience, we are honoring ourselves. We are giving honor to ourselves and our Creator. Because of this past, I am clear that lovemaking is an act of resistance and personal social justice. Each time we say yes to the arms of each other, each time we allow entry, breath, sweat, and oneness, we are saying yes to Black love and the Black family. We have the power to choose our lovers, our beloveds, and our life partners. Honor your ancestors and choose well. I had to shout out Black love, but love who you love. It's all good. It's better than anything else just to love who you love. All right, page 56. This is so the book is in 3 sections. I really shouldn't have had all that margarita because now, am I reading these words right? Is anybody else hot? I just feel like a lot is going on in my body right now. I'm feeling very vulnerable and naked up here, and I'm sorry I can't really look up and hold direct eye contact with everyone as I read. Right. All right. So there are 4 sections of the book, and the first part is about liberation, and it is just addressing the racism, the sexism, classism, all those things that I think confine us when we look at its full expression. And then the second section is essential knowledge, and it is really about all the things around body and self-care, inside out, and even understanding the pre-part of sex. So the part of sex that is before foreplay, which for women is really connecting outside of the bedroom. It's so important to not just be like, give it to me right now. I mean, that kind of works in videos and movies, but in real life, it's like, the kitchen is dirty. I have to fold clothes. So that's real life. So I'm really trying to say, hey, if you want some of this good, you should do a lot of things to prepare for that, not only in the home or the space, but also in your body. And then the third section is, son, you are an amazing lover. And so I just chose to read from section 2, Make Love to My Mind, on page 56. It's not difficult to know when someone is sexually attractive to you, particularly at this age. Most women in their youth have an easy beauty about them, and so do men. Being attractive is the norm. By now, you have a type of woman that you like or prefer. I think I could even pick out that type of woman you like, the type of women you like. I know that you can pick out the type of men I like. Even in variety, we really know, I don't know what I'm saying there, what we like to look at, but one must always know that the body is an ever-changing vessel. Many people may keep their young adult physique, but even that will change over the years. While it is very important to care for our body, the mind can be the sexiest body part of all. Sapiosexuals are people who find intelligence sexually stimulating, attractive, or arousing. Their potential partners must have the skills to engage in intellectual conversations, have social awareness, a care for some systemic aspect of the planet in order to really arouse someone. While their eyes are attracted to the body, that is only the first step to attraction. The conversation is what seals the deal. Long after the body changes, you will want to share about your day, have stimulating emotional and spiritual conversation with the one you love. Conversation is its own art form, and it is powerful beyond measure. I know it would seem odd for me to discuss the importance of conversation in a book about lovemaking, but the truth is that we must have something that leads up to lovemaking, and that thing is conversation. When you are meeting a woman, excuse me, for the first time, no matter how sexy she looks, keep your eyes on her eyes. Women with large breasts know more than anyone what a distraction their breasts are to any conversation. Focusing on a body part instead of a woman's eyes is both frustrating and annoying to a woman. While women enjoy compliments, most of them have heard more crude than positive ones. Telling a woman she looks happy today, or that the color of her attire brings out some attribute is far better than telling her, you are fine. Once you have a solid relationship, you can, of course, comment on the sexy parts of her as a form of play and foreplay, but even then, a woman often wants to be listened to just as much as she is desired. Women value being heard, quoted, remembered for what they said, not their bra size. Even when a woman goes out of her way to make herself look more appealing, she still wants to be respected, heard, and understood. When a woman is valued for her thoughts, ideas, critiques, and observations, she is in a constant state of stimulation. Being validated for her goals, ambitions, and ideas is gratifying and stimulating. Asking her questions about her day and remembering a challenge, task, or test she had, following up to see how that went, how it went is what will get and keep a woman interested in your company. Helping a woman unpack the intellectual part of her day will allow her to transition to being an available and present partner and lover. How many men wish they would have known that? I think that was important. All right. So I'll just read the rest of it really quickly because I only have 12 more sections. Joking. Many straight men often wonder why women love being around gay men so much. A huge part of the relationship is about sharing and listening. Without the pressure or need for sex from each other, women appreciate and deeply respect the perspective of men. Heterosexual men can communicate in platonic ways with the woman they love and are partnered with. Allowing the conversation to just live as its own entity instead of using it to get sex is the biggest lesson you will have to learn. You will have to find the balance in dating and understanding when stimulation turns to attraction. You will know, and if not, she will be willing to let you know. When you are dating, think about going places that allow you all to work together, complete a task or an adventure. Dinner and a movie can be fun if you all just want to hang out, but make sure after the movie that you have a stimulating conversation about what you viewed. Ask her if she has had similar experiences or if there was something she enjoyed in the movie. Follow up with jokes, funny videos, and reminders of what she said to you. Shopping together, preparing a meal, and sitting at a table is so intimate. The beauty of the art of conversation and mind sex is that even if you all decide to go your separate ways, you could easily end up with a friend for life because she will always have a warm memory in her heart for the tough and easy things that you all discussed. She will remember how you looked in her eyes, noticed her inner and outer beauty, and saw her fully as a woman. And so at the end of the sections, there are contemplations, things that I think are important for men to think about. I wish I could take credit and say I came up with the idea of it, but I was actually talking to a woman outside of First Watch one day. I didn't even know her, but I knew her friend, and then we sat outside for 3 hours because that's just kind of how my life is. I like doing that kind of stuff. And so she was just kind of talking about where she was in her life. She had been married for 25 years. She had a husband that really loved her, and he was supporting her coming into her next self. And so she told me, she said, I just need people to ask me questions. She said, I've exhausted the questions that I have for myself. I need other people to ask me questions. And I was like, that blew me away because I am surrounded by a lot of amazing friends who ask me tough ass questions all the time. I just want them to stop asking me questions. And so I put questions at the end of most of the sections with lines so that it can kind of operate as a workbook as well. And my son had the genius idea of making sure, he says, Mom, the contemplations allow people to step out of what you're saying about it and just really think about themselves and think about what they need. So, okay, I just have a few more. This is page 82. If anyone were to quote any part of the book, like an elevator speech for someone, this is what I would want them to say. Masturbation. I'm kidding. I would want them to say this. I want every man to know this, all right? And women, if you agree, let them know. Before all else, any information, knowledge, classes, techniques, or anything else that I have shared here or that you will learn elsewhere, one thing I know is true of all great lovers is that you must first believe in yourself. Believe that you are able, willing, and capable of being an amazing, touchable, coachable, and head-spinning lover for all of your life. That is a commitment that you must make to yourself, regardless of what is happening in your life. Your thoughts about who you are as a lover are so powerful, and they will be felt by the women you encounter. Even if you are nervous at any time, you can still feel confident to know that you are indeed an amazing lover. I really want men to know that, and I want them to learn that early. So I talk about a lot of like little tender things, and then I wanted to share on page 147. I'm just going to read about anal sex. Y'all are supposed to laugh. 147. Okay. So the reason I wrote this one, it is really short, right? But I have so many amazing female friends that are like, it was a bloodbath. They say that, or I felt like I was in the penitentiary. And so then I always say, well, tell me what he did. And he always did everything wrong. So this is my take on anal sex, which if you aren't, anybody into anal sex here? Anybody raise your hand? I'm kidding, you don't have to. I want somebody to raise their hand. Anybody? All right, yeah, woo. All right, come through, Woo, Shauna? Yes. Shauna Malone, stand up and take your anal sex round of applause right now. That is my cousin. She taught me how to read, and she used to make me eat licorice, black licorice, if I got something incorrectly. So we also know there's a dominatrix over there. And clearly it runs in the family, Shauna. Clearly it runs in the family. Mommy, do you like anal sex? Hell no, she said. We trying to get it in for mommy in 2020. Anal sex for my mom, 2020. All right. Before you share in anal play, you must first honor the vagina. My recommendation is to wait until you are very clear what works vaginally before moving to anal sex. It requires a finesse that takes time and understanding, but also practice, patience, and technique. I've got some great news. You can also enjoy your anus. You are not gay if you enjoy your anus. There is no assigned gay body part. If you have sex with a man frequently and you like it, then I would say, yep, you are probably gay. But if you enjoy what I like to call anal play with your woman, then it just means that in American culture, you have a little kink in you. Trust me on this one. Many straight men love anal action, and I believe that it is the great equalizer. It is the only sexual orifice outside of your mouth that you and a woman share. They are also equally accessed, did I say that right? Thank you, about the same in heteronormative relationships. But, no pun intended, your prostate gland is nestled inside your anus and can provide even more pleasure than you can imagine. I get it, this subject is taboo, and there can be a lot of shit involved. The puns don't stop. But honestly, you should go for it with a tremendous amount of lube and have fun. Anytime a person disregards, ignores, suppresses parts of their bodies sexually, they are experiencing internalized oppression. When my lesbian sisters who have a masculine presence deny their vaginas, I tell them that they have become the patriarchy that has oppressed them. Enjoy your anus, son, and enjoy hers too. As far as technique, I will tell you that you should always use more lube than you think you need, and that unlike the back and forth thrust into the vagina, you should slowly inch your dick into the vagina between the breath. If a woman lays on her side with one knee up, it is easier for her to control her anal muscles. I would not try rear entry or woman mounting as the first few attempts to anal sex. Breathe, push, breathe, breath, push, breathe, push, and take direction. Let her lead it because she will need to relax. I also recommend starting with the finger and or a very small starter toy at first before actually trying anal sex. It will take many attempts to really get comfortable with anal sex because it uses thrust and entry so different from vaginal sex at first. Experiment with various lubes to get comfortable, but you must always use lube whenever you have anal sex. Make sure that you are having conversations about anal sex before you actually try to have it. It just isn't great as spontaneous fun and experimentation. I think an amen is coming from the women there. Whoa! The anus is delicate, and hurting it can impact the ability to have bowel movements for a few short days. So don't let multiple tries discourage you from enjoying your anus or hers. Be gentle and know that vigorous anal sex comes with time and practice. So that is some of the kind of real advice that I try to give. And before we break off in sections and talk about we're not going to do that. So, I was like, I said I wanted to read that one because I was like, I'm going to just jump in and see what happens. I'm not sure if that was a fail or a gain. You all can tell me later. Private message me. Oh, good. So it really is about uncovering this taboo, right? And So moms, I'm speaking directly to you. I really literally have had these conversations multiple times with my son and also with my daughter, which is why she is giggling and right here in the room, because I believe that if we look at sex as a function of life versus this kind of weird, strange, and taboo kind of thing, then it's easy to discuss any part of it before it becomes a thing, right? So it's kind of really weird to say, I want to talk about speeding, and somebody is going like 95. They've already been speeding. So you have to really talk about the things in life before they happen, and I wanted to really do it in a motherly way. I mean, obviously, I'm not giving full on, some areas I think I do give full on technique, but I think others it's just important to, yeah, I do. And I don't know, why I did or did. Well, I feel like I did, because I feel like people complicate anal sex. When I looked at it, I was like, man, that's a really short chapter, but it really is. They complicate it because they try to do it like vaginal sex, and that is the greatest mistake. And men should never talk to other men about how to perform anal sex on a woman. You must talk to a woman that's actually had and enjoyed anal sex. So it's that criteria too, not just one thing, but both, that they've had it and they've enjoyed it, because that makes a difference. And in American culture, we do see a lot of things very prudishly, even though we don't think that we do. We really do, because just like with Shauna standing up and saying, I have anal sex and nobody else did. That just goes to show you how taboo it still really is in our culture, even when we are in a sex-positive environment, even when we're comfortable talking about it. All right, so if anyone knows Nazir, they know that he is a person who is very selective about everything. He loves openly and freely, but Nazir is trying to boo for life. He is definitely not the kind of man that wants to just be out here having sex with just anybody. And so he specifically asked for me to write this section because we talk about this a lot more than, because we've been talking about sex for 18 years. But now that he's like in relationship age in the 20s and you start kind of relationshiping, and I think I'm the worst person to give advice on relationships because I've had very few successful or long-term ones. But I think that's also why I'm really great at giving the advice, because I think I know it works. And it's always their fault. It's never mine. I don't even see it like that, y'all. I don't even think it's a fault. I think it's a knowing of what works and what doesn't, and being okay releasing what doesn't work. So I don't even look at them as failed. I just look at we were smart enough to know better. Page 189, excuse me. I would like to tell you that I have, page 189, I'm sorry. I would like to tell you that I have the most perfect advice when it comes to selecting a life partner, because proof of that would be that I have met and am in relationship with my life partner, but the truth of it is that I have not yet met my life partner. While I have been in love more than a few times in my life, those loves were not a lifelong match. They were definitely circumstances that could have toppled all fear and doubt with the right amount of work and honesty, but honestly, I have yet to meet my soulmate. I am also not sure if I believe in a single soulmate, but instead many men that could be one of many of my typos, soulmates. Of those men, I choose one or he chooses me, and we are two souls together for life. Being partnered and being perfectly paired with the divine love of your life are two different things. Some lifetime commitments occur because of proximity and ease. Sometimes when people decide they are ready for love, they accept what is before them. Their search is limited, and they look for the path of least resistance. Even if a person doesn't meet their deep needs, they still partner because that person is present. I have often seen men choose women who do not challenge them or push them to their greater selves. They select a life partner because predictability means that life is at least secure, even if it's not fulfilled. This makes me sad for them, but some would argue that being alone is sadder than being in a mediocre relationship. I do believe that everyone is not interested in meeting a life partner or a soulmate. Some of those people, both women and men, are my friends. They are completely happy enjoying their lives without consistent or even real love. They don't require all the things that I have spoken about in this book, and they do not possess a deep desire for love inside of them. I want you to know those people I not only admire, I am actually jealous of them because I am wired in a different way. All of my joy, successes, and passion is still not enough for me in this life. I deeply desire love, and I will live for it when I have it and long for it until my last day. Love is simply who I am. Because you are my son, I know that you are built the same way. You are full of intrinsic and personal goals, but at the end of the day, you too want a person to love a lifetime. Selecting a life partner is no easy task. In order to make any type of demands from others, you must first be able to keep and sustain your own happiness and joy. You must be independent, be able to create a home and handle your finances, and you must know your strengths, weaknesses, and parts of your shortcomings you know you will probably never change. I am encouraging you and all readers to create a list of characteristics about yourself that you love. My hope is that you can come up with 24 of them. Next to that list, I would like for you to come up with a list of 24 characteristics you want in a partner or those that complement your characteristics. I will tell you that both lists are likely to change over time and that your list does not have to be concrete. Instead, think of it as a suggestion to your soul. What you may discover about yourself is that you actually have a lot of depth to you, but that you may also have some things on your list that are superficial. That is completely fine. You will need to have some things that are just a preference. What is important to know is that when you look at your list, you may discover a woman has all the things that you love, but she isn't from the region of the world you desire. If this happens, you will have to weigh which aspect of region is non-negotiable for you. When you are manifesting your life partner, know that manifestation is not perfection. There is no such thing as a perfect person, but there is a such thing as a person being perfect for you. There's the strong likelihood that you will attract someone who, in many ways, is exactly who you are, or that which complements your deep-seated values. Values are often based on tradition. You must examine your values, what's important to you outside of how you've been raised. As kids, we all have said when we grow up, I'm not going to do this or I'm not going to do that. We all do this. We know early what that is, but habits steer us in unhealthy directions. As you delve deeper into your manhood, the things that I have said and taught you will make more sense, and others simply won't relate to your life at all. Know that who you choose as a partner is strictly your responsibility, and that while she will be welcomed into the community with open arms, you must first want her in your arms for a lifetime. Non-negotiables are things about your partner that must be present, even if the more superficial items are not met. For example, I know that my partner must believe that love and lovemaking with me are essential and consistent practices. I know that no matter what, I will want a partner who wants to connect sexually and often. I also know that I cannot be partnered with someone who is sexist, homophobic, or believes in conservative politics. I also know that my life partner must have the capacity to love my children and family, no matter where they are in the world. He must be open spiritually and, in his own way, be a healer. What are the non-negotiables for your life partner? Can you rank them in the order of importance? Ranking helps guide you to better selection. When you meet someone, there will be something about them you didn't even consider important until that moment. You may find your beloved very early or late in life. I have learned that when it comes to love, there is no timeline. Love operates on its own wave. We must always stay in tune with love, spread love, and support the love around us. We must make sure the family unit has support and to love each person as a unit and as individuals. We should all take the pledge to stand in love. There is nothing you need to do to deserve love. We are all worthy and deserving. We are all human and flawed. Enjoy the journey to your beloved and bless each person you meet in your life. They may introduce you to your beloved. All right, y'all, so that's just a taste of it, and thank you. Yay. So any questions, comments, please, at this time? Anybody? Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
Have you got any feedback from him if he's tried any of the things that you discussed in the book?
I was like, what are you going to want me to say if somebody asks that question? He told me to say, Mom is the GOAT. That's what he told me to say. Mom is the GOAT. So, yes, the greatest of all times. The greatest of all times. Yes. Or margarita. Yeah. Margarita. Yeah. Either will work. Okay. There's another question. Comment. Carmen.
Super quick. I just like that you put information about anal at the end of the book.
You know what? I hate you, Carmen. Leave it to the hub. You had to. You couldn't let it. Do you have any more? This is our punster over here. Did you like my puns in that part? Okay. Thank you. Carmen and I have been friends since the 3rd grade. I was a 3rd grader. She was a 4th grader. And we talked about this a lot in the book. And she's like, Nat, you've always been a lover. And so always, like I was always in love or crushing or like always trying to tell her sexual things. And she was always trying not to listen. And it's still like that. It's still like that. So she still resists. And I still am like, okay, let me tell you one thing. She's like, no, I don't want to hear any of it. So are you going to read the book, Carmen? Okay. Jess?
Are there sections or advice that you thought you would put in and then
I woke up after the book was supposed to come, and I remember I called Joe and I was like, fuck, I didn't talk about alcohol and drugs. I didn't talk about alcohol, drugs, and sex, and I was like, how did I miss that? And I was really like beating myself up about that because I think that is something that everyone deals with. And I don't know how I missed it. And you said what? I know. How did I miss it? How did I miss that? Boy. Yeah, that's what Joe said. Joe was like, don't worry, you can cover it in the workshops. That's my Boston accent, Joe. But I was like thinking like, and then I was like, well, I can't be perfect. But that was the thing that I was like, I literally woke up out of my sleep like, no, I left that part out. And then there were parts that I didn't have in there that the beta readers shared with me. And one of them is that I didn't have masturbation. Because I feel like in my head, all men love to masturbate. They do it whenever they want. They talk about it. They're not ashamed of it. It's not shamed. And my friend Stacy was like, no, you should talk about it. And so I asked the other beta readers, and they were like, yeah, you should definitely talk about it. So I went back in and actually talked about it a lot. Because, it's such a great sexual practice. And so I was like, so there were things that I missed. That's what comes to mind. David, can you think of anything, Mommy? Lee, can you think of anything that I missed and you all came back and said?
No, everything that you mentioned is an add that we talked about.
Yeah. But do you remember what I left out that you were like, you should add that? No. Do you remember any? Do you? We did. I can't.
Female ejaculation.
Yes, that's what it was. Female ejaculation, squirting, and female orgasm. And I was like, how the heck did I leave that out? Who told you? But I ended up writing rather. Yeah, I ended up writing rather extensively. It is the most mysterious thing about sex. It's like the most, you can read 30 books on the female orgasm and still fail. But women always appreciate a failed attempt. They know, we know, right? We know, even if, because it could be something inside of us, right, in that moment. And so we're not even blaming that. I mean, and I really didn't want to make orgasm the goal of the lovemaking journey, because I think when we do that, we miss everything else. And I hate when people say, did you come? Did you come? I'm like, oh my God. Like, don't you see me happy? Like, does it matter? And so sometimes it does, right? And then sometimes it doesn't. But and I appreciate people, who are ambitious and they want to know that they please you. But at the same time, you can get much pleasure even if you don't get all the way there. But you should also enjoy getting all the way there. And so I tried to say that, and it was really complicated to even, as a woman, write about it. Not because it's like taboo, but it's just that mysterious and mystical, which is the beauty of being a woman, I think. Elaine, you had a question? Did you have a question? That's your hand.
I just wanted to shout out to you the courage and stamina and everything to get
Thanks.
this in print. And I appreciated your interview this morning on ECUR.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for you all who listen. Yay. Thank you. So I started on the book. I wrote about it on Nazir's birthday. He said, Mom, and then we hung up the phone, and it was like 3 a.m. And of course, I stayed up till 5, and which is what I do usually every night. And then I started to type, and then we sat down at the Starbucks, and then we tried to include Naima, and she said, y'all can have that. I'm good. She said, I'm good on that. But that's so cute. I love to hear children laugh. But then Nazir and I went back and forth, and I stepped away from it like mid-March to mid-May, and then I went back to it. And so it was my summer write, and I just kind of buckled down and wrote it. I've never written anything quite that fast, but I find that nonfiction, minus my 18 quadrillion typos, nonfiction is a little easier to write than poetry. And I love poetry, but I was like enjoying prose, how it comes out, and going back to it and revisiting it. That I really enjoyed that. And so that was something new that I discovered about myself as a writer, how fun prose is. I didn't know it was that much fun. So I have a question for you all. What type of workshops? I have some workshops in mind, but I would like to know from you, like, what type of workshops do you think would be good for people to have and that they would actually come to? Shut up, David. I will not be having those workshops without a large fee. I will walk anyone through anything for a fee. Next question. Yes. It's so good to see you, Taraji. Yeah. Yes. I feel like that might be easier too. Yeah.
Almost 20 and 17, and so the 17-year-old, he's kind of standoffish sometimes, but then just out of the blue, it's like, hey, mom. And just the floodgate.
Right.
Sometimes it's overwhelming.
Yes.
And so the other one, he's a little bit more,
Free.
we'll talk at any given moment. So this, in my opinion, helped because I'm freaked out about talking to them about a lot of different things. Yes, I could say, hey, call my dad up, like, hey, Dad, can you talk? No.
Men struggle with talking to each other about sex, and they give each other really bad advice, and often a really hard time. Like, they tease each other, and it just can really shut men down, and then they go off and watch porn, and then they come back and they want to pounce on you, and you're like, what is happening? Yeah. So, Taraji, can I ask you a question? What is hard? What's hard about talking about it?
I'm glad you asked that, because I actually thought about that. Well, I guess because of my upbringing, I was raised by my grandparents, and so my grandmother was just sex. You don't do, you don't do, like, so there wasn't open dialogue. It was quite traumatizing.
Yeah.
There's no open dialogue, or it was pretty,
Conservative. So when you feel like when your son is really open with you and he's talking to you, do you answer him honestly?
I have to tell them to give mother a moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes, depending on where my mind is, I can just, but sometimes I'm like, okay, can you give my moment, go and consult with myself, and maybe it's
Take it to the altar.
yes, calling out to the ancestors,
Yeah.
where everybody, just help me, and, when you have kids, you never think about, sometimes you don't even think about when you're going to get to that moment. And especially being in a single mother household, that you're going to have to answer, especially for boys,
Yeah.
you're going to have to answer certain questions, or they're going to come, you're going to have to just, educate them on some things, and, it's
So do you think a workshop for mothers and mothers together, or mothers only, or mothers and fathers together? Anybody can say yes, no.
You wrote it for your son, so I think that this would give men an opportunity to kind of not relive being boy again, but, just to kind of have those, your guidelines into how to do that. So, and like with role play, like practicing saying it out loud,
Yes. So
just thinking about it, like actually saying,
I wanted to do a workshop where kids came, so they would have a separate section and a separate workshop, right? And so I would talk extensively, kind of 1, 2, and section 4, but then the third section would be they could text me questions, or they could drop them in a bowl. Then that way I can just read the questions and answer them about sex directly, or whatever it was that they kind of wanted and was interested in. And then I wanted to have another one of like the parents coming together with kids, where it's like that is the first, not the first, but the first where we're talking openly about sex around kids with adults and normalizing it. That was what I had in my mind, but I didn't know. Yeah. So I think that really depends on parents, right? Because, so Nazir is 20, so all his friends are like 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And they were so hyped with this book. They were like, oh, I want my copy. Like, they were like bringing me money, and they were like, this is old time. So, and I was like, but they were like, I don't know, but I think they were also like that 2 years ago. They were also like that another 2 years ago. I feel like they say in Missouri, I think the age is 13 for first time having sex. So I feel like whenever you feel like you've prepped your kids to hear the word dick and pussy, which is in every song, that's why I used it. Because I interchanged them, but it was because I'm like, that's what we actually say, and adults say it too. So I tried to use the language that I felt was what we use. And I don't like the word vagina. I like pussy, because it sounds better. It sounds like it is, whereas vagina, it kind of sounds like, it kind of feels like that. But pussy is like, it sounds like what it is, so, yeah. I see another comment. Yeah, oh, that's right, I'm sorry. April? Mark was like, it ain't me, I ain't saying shit. Mark was like, I'm with her.
I think the workshop with the kids would be great, because as a mother with twin boys, my son and I talk openly about sex. I come from a household where my mother and I talk openly about sex. So since this book has been released, it's been weird to me that people have been so like, I didn't expect that. I thought people were like, hey, hello, but people are very afraid of it. And so that has been really weird to me, because I come from such a home where it's so open, and so open in my house, where my twin sons talk openly about sex, and they'll come home like, hey, I saw Camilla, she was looking good. We had that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So I think a workshop where the kids can feel free to talk about it would be good, and for the moms to know, like, your kid is a sexual being, and you know that you're sexy. Even your kid
Yes.
I see my son was like, hey, mama, hold up, you know. So they even
Oh, they notice everything. They know when you do it, they know everything.
My 4-year-old told me I was dancing like a stripper, and I was just like, wait, what are you crazy? I was
and that's
Yeah.
fun, and it's okay for your son to know that was your goal.
Yeah, that was my goal. Thank you. I achieved.
Mine is that girl too.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a big thing is dismantling the patriarchal mom, which like Taraji, teaching your sons that you are also a sexual being. And I encourage mothers to be like, well, this is what I like. Because, you know, like that really changes the conversation. And I think we live in this really weird society that is like, you have sex when you're 25 and under, and then after that, you're old and dead, and you just pay bills and have babies. Like, if you look at television, you are not seeing, you know, full manifestations of women. Now, I think it's like this. I was reading this article that said that it was at one time 90% of the women on TV are 27 and under. Like, and if you think about it, but men get a full spectrum, you know, and so, and then it breaks down race and size and all these different things. And so I think if we're not talking about sex as far as like, well, what I like is this, or I don't like that. And then it really opens it up, because when your children start to ask you questions, they want to know if they're regular. That's what they want to know. You know, am I normal? Is it okay for me to feel this way? And it's good to have these differences. The reason I asked my mother about anal sex, because one Sunday we were all hanging out, me and my mom and Naima was like, Mama, do you like anal? You know, and my mother was like, hell no. So then I started telling Naima, I was like, no, this is her favorite position, right? And it was like, that conversation I realize is rare, and people are afraid to have that, but my mother is a whole person. I am a whole person. Naima is a whole person. And I think we come to the planet as sexual beings, and we start really early teaching children to avoid their sensuality. We start, close your legs, put down your dress, don't touch this, I mean, we get all, it's just sensuality and touch, you know, and it's like, people want to touch things and they want to look at things. Don't look at them. Don't stare. We do all these things to kids to take away their sensuality. And then we wonder why they're weird and perverted and watching porn, you know, by themselves and all this different kind of stuff. Like, and there's nothing wrong with porn. I'm not saying that, but porn is not the introduction that we want to give our children. And so I was watching this interview from a porn star, and she said, you know, you wouldn't take a driver and put them in front of Fast and Furious and say, this is how you drive. She said, that's entertainment, and that's what porn is. And I was like, I'm going to use that, so I want to give her credit for that.
Well, I was going to say that I get the book is a mother-son conversation. And when I look at when you talk about the workshop, in my viewpoint is that this conversation starts from a 9-year-old going even to an 8-year-old. So it's not a conversation that is just set for a specific age group.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why most of us in our age group right now is adults are having such a difficult time having that conversation is because we've never had that open conversation with ourselves to even openly have with our children. So it's not just a conversation for the up and coming who are getting into that space or experiencing it, but I truly believe it's a conversation that we all need to embrace and just realize that it's a functionality of our being.
Yeah.
But it's how we're talking about it and how we embrace it. So there's a context we have as a people that separates us from what that whole functionality is. And that's why it's either good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on who we are talking to or the time of day, that we make it good or bad conversation.
That's true. I agree. Joe?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of what you were just saying and just make a comment that this book probably couldn't have come at a better time, like in the spectrum of modern history, because I was watching a special on CNN. It was all about porn, and basically the Generation Z, whatever you want to call it, has pretty much been raised on it as far as their sexual education. Like, it's so easy to access it and everything. And again, I'm not bashing porn by any means, like, but it does. I feel like it might have made some of the conversation about sex, especially from an advice standpoint, kind of lazy. Like, I don't know, you know, I work with high school age kids, and we do talk about sexual harassment and healthy relationships and stuff. about the birds and bees, which was like kind of, just everybody had it at some point, even if there was a very black and white form of what this book is, it was still something.
Yeah.
That's not even present nowadays.
Yeah.
So this book couldn't have come at a better time.
Yeah, thank you. This New York Times bestseller, y'all. Let's manifest that together, right? That would be great. And I think that too, adults need to help control the narrative about sex. Like, it is our responsibility as grandparents and parents to teach. It's I remember one time, I think it was April, maybe, that said, we don't want all the teenagers arching each other's eyebrows. They need to come to me. She was like, and if you think about it, right? Because I was like, everybody is like walking around with like these Sharpie eyebrows and these strange things. And what she was saying is that, like, let me show you, let me teach you. And I think we have to pull the perversion from sex. And that's why we need to have healthy, amazing keepers of the culture are women, and women need to be helping young men, because they're not, like, if we get a young person, they may talk to you about certain things, and then they may come to me and be like, so I have like something on my butt. And I was like, okay, well, what does it look like? Like, as a mother, that's what you get access to, right? They're gonna tell you things that they're not going to tell other people. And why do we get shy when it comes to telling that other part? And then I think too, I remember I was talking to my friend Gustavo, who is my age, and we were at a writing event, and it was an older couple, and they were talking about how they had to rekindle their sexual relationship, and he was like, this is so disgusting. And I was like, why? This is beautiful. And I realized, and he was like, he said, I don't even want to know if my mother is having sex. And I was like, how did you get here? So I feel like we need to be having more healthy conversations, because it's even people our age that are like, I don't even want to know if my mom is fucking. I'm like, why not? It's so bizarre to me, like, and it's because it's like, but everyone else gets to do it, but mom and dad don't. Like, I don't, or mom doesn't, but dad does. Like, all of these really weird things. So I was really kind of stumped, and that's what I wanted to know, like, from you all. What do you think as far as workshops? Because I am going to start offering them. I had some ideas, but I guess they'll grow with time. Like, would you all send your kids to workshops? Would you? Okay. Right, because y'all would just have to not be there. And I ain't gonna tell you, Taraji. I would say you should go talk to your mom. So that's the one thing that I'm always gonna encourage people to do. It's like, talk to your parents about it. And the hope is that everybody will kind of come together and then leave the conversation feeling empowered to talk about sex. And I think it also helps that I have regular children. They haven't like grown up and to turn into some kind of aliens out here that are, whatever we're afraid of. But one of the things that I realized about raising children, period, is whatever you are running from is what they're going to run to. And so, and you have to take the taboo out of whatever it is you're afraid of, right? And so, if you take the taboo out of drugs and you say, hey, if you live in a neighborhood, you can say, hey, I know this is a challenge for you. I know this is hard when you see this person having that. Let's talk about that, because I get it. I get that you want to have a gun, or I get that you want to eat the cafeteria lunch, but you got to take your lunch in this house. Whatever the conversation is, like, I feel like we should have it. Lee?
Actually, you said it right, perfectly right there. Coming up in a household with a mother that didn't hide anything from us, it's that thing of you're not, I don't remember having curiosities about things. I wasn't, even when I was watching my friends have all the curiosities. So, I would think that most parents probably want to send their kids to a workshop because some just aren't comfortable.
And they're actually already fucking. So many of them are, y'all. I just need y'all to know that. Like, if you are doing this, just know they know how to get right past your blinders. I mean, and you want to give them good advice. You can't really avoid it. I mean, you can't avoid it. Mary, and then April.
I was also going to say that I think you come fully equipped with an opportunity to embrace I can trust that you will not be afraid of having a conversation that I otherwise would shy away from.
Yeah.
So you embrace diversity in such a grand way and in such a special way. So
Thank you. And it is a responsible book. It's not like out there, get wild and free, but it is saying learn to express yourself, but that it's a responsibility to that. And I try to balance that because sex should be sometimes wild and free, but with responsibility. So it was somebody else. April.
I was just gonna say, mothers have to own the fact that your son looks for someone like you. So if you ask Kamisha about that, he'll find a Kamisha woman and cheat on her with the wild one. So it's like if you show yourself and show your size and show yourself that you love sex, he'll find a woman that matches that and he'll be happy with her. I grew up with parents who were all over each other all the time and 40 years later they still are.
And they are the cutest ever. I love your parents so much.
So I always looked for what I was sexually compatible with, and there was no shame around sex in my house. And so my sons will look for somebody who fits them instead of looking for a prude and slide off to the side with somebody that matches.
Yeah, and be really whole in what you love. And I think that's the thing too. Like I have a section here about submission and dominance and embracing your kink, because I feel like we do shame people who have a kinky side or, whatever that means, right? I'm using that because it's different for everybody. But that a person would feel like they can't express that. So I feel like it's important to me. I remember one time we were all hanging out together, me, Nazir, and Naima. We were like laying in my bed talking, and we were talking about like our dream houses. And my son was like, yeah, he's like, I want my bed to be on a platform, and I want steps to come up, and I want it to have like blue ambient lighting. And then he was like, I want a pole in front of the bed. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah. So then I was like, what you gonna do with the pole? I never, he was like 8th grade. He was like, I'm gonna show her I can do tricks. And I was like, come through. He was like, I feel like I'm athletic. And I was like, I was not expecting that, but it was so funny, right? So, and then I remember watching, it was like a segment of Home Improvement or something, and the husband, they are having an anniversary, and he pole dances. So he's sneaking off, and he had been taking pole dancing classes to surprise the wife for their anniversary. So I had to send him that clip, and I was like, see, y'all out there. But, that kind of stuff. So I just, I want to thank you all for coming again. And please share, can you all, share about the book and encourage people and, if you see people struggling, because y'all know them in your community, or if you see teenagers, if you can ask for permission from their parents and say, hey, my friend wrote this amazing book. I will come and talk to families individually too. I will do that for a fee, of course. I will do larger workshops for a fee, of course. But I want to put this book in as many hands as possible. After today, it will be on Amazon, but I want people to buy it from me because I get more profits if you buy it from me. That's really the bottom line. And please share the NPR interview because I ended up getting a lot of hits and people reaching out to me. So I would just ask for you all to kind of spread this thing like word of mouth. I was in meditation about it, and that is what became clear to me. It was like that I got this thing that it would be word of mouth, that would be, and it would be a slow burn, but a steady one. So you all please take margaritas home, food, and, oh wait, don't move. Can you hand me my camera? I want to just take a picture of all y'all. I like to do that, and then a selfie. Can I do that? If you don't want to be in the picture, just hide. Okay. And then I'm gonna get in it. Okay. Thank y'all. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Mary, for introducing me. And thank you, Warren. I know Warren went out two-stepping. Vivian, you weren't expecting to dance today, so I appreciate that. Vivian, thank you so much. You're so beautiful. To watch you all dance together was just so sexy. And yeah, wasn't that beautiful? I hope y'all record that. So, and thank you to all the readers before and for everybody that came. I just love y'all so much. I have 2 more books coming out this year. So, yeah, so I'm excited. All right, y'all. Love y'all. Hug somebody. Oh, thank you, Naima. And my mom. Shit, I'm so sorry. Thank you, Naima, for taking pictures. Thank you, David, for the mic. And thank you, Mommy, for the books up front. So I have plenty of books left if you all want to buy them. Please do.